Jane.
we feel like we're like on top of each other, but we did get some feedback. We need to be in the frame more.
Yes.
Yeah.
This is spectacular, too, just to be hanging out with you today.
Likewise. We've got so many topics we want to talk about, and where do you start?
Well, I'd like to talk about women today and leadership. And some of the trends that I've noticed about women who are in leadership, aspiring to high levels of leadership, and just some different things I've noticed.
So it's a huge topic, and a lot of women don't like to go there. Others maybe go there too much. I mean, so what's sort of our intent in this conversation?
Well, what I hope for everyone involved is that we would at some point get to a point where we can acknowledge what is, what's true about difference in the world as it relates to gender, so that we can start to impact some of the things that have been systemically causing us, I won't say issues, but things we haven't been happy about in relationship to the numbers. Numbers of women in leadership and the impact and
So guys, it's a big topic, and here's first stab. I think there will be plenty of, I think we could do this for years.
Yeah, and so there was one thing that I wanted to, an experiment that I'd seen on YouTube with gorillas. That I wanted to bring up and just talk about how I see that happen with women and see what your experiences have been with it as well. So if you put 4 gorillas in a room together and you have some bananas, the gorillas will want to go get the bananas. But then if you spray those the gorillas with water, they won't go get the bananas.
So they try to get a banana, and each time they get sprayed.
Each time they get sprayed. Eventually the gorillas won't go get the bananas. That's called learned helplessness. Right? So they don't know if they're going to get sprayed or not. They just know they've gotten sprayed in the past, so they don't even try. But here's the thing as it relates to women and the gorillas in this experiment. You can take a gorilla out and put a new gorilla in who's never been sprayed. That new gorilla will try to go get bananas. And what do you think happens?
They don't let them.
They don't let them. The other 3 gorillas pull the gorilla back, and they won't beat them up.
So if one person got sprayed, they all got sprayed in the experiment?
In the previous experiment, yes. Yes, and so, but here's what's fascinating. You can take all of the gorillas out until you end up replacing one at a time, because that one number is important.
And it didn't matter if you had a ballsy gorilla or someone that said, don't pull me back, I'm going.
No, the temperament of the gorillas wasn't part of the experiment. It was 3 against 1 always. So 75% to
and we
20%.
We back off.
25%. Oh, yeah. So the 3 would jump on the 1 and go, and then you just keep putting one new gorilla in at a time until you had 4 new, completely new gorillas who'd never been sprayed. And they would not reach for the bananas. And then you got 4 new gorillas, right? Never been sprayed. They don't reach for bananas. That's not a big deal. That's learned helplessness. We all suffer from learned helplessness.
So we all suffer. So give me some examples in day to day.
Yeah,
because we're humans. We're not gorillas.
We're humans. We're not gorillas. We all suffer from learned helplessness. An example I like to use is losing weight. You know how to lose weight, don't you?
Oh,
you can write a book.
I've done it a lot.
And you can write a book, couldn't you?
I can write a book.
Yeah, but sometimes when you're not doing a good job at losing weight, is it because you don't know how?
No.
It's because you tried hard in the past, were unsuccessful, and now you're like, it's my age, it's my metabolism, it's any number of things. So we go back in history, rewrite it in our favor, and say, I tried really hard, and I just can't.
So let's take that in the workplace.
Yeah. Well, it's when we see persistent challenges over and over again, and our eyes kind of glaze over, and we go, not worth tackling. But what's interesting about these gorillas, this experiment wasn't about learned helplessness per se. It was more about the fact that even when you put a new gorilla in, the other 3 held that gorilla down. It's the pedagogy of the oppressed.
Well, we don't have enough female gorillas at the top. Where is this happening?
Yeah. So what tends to happen when you get your one person, because, we're like, oh, yeah, let's hire a woman. On many boards and many at the C-suite, if they have women, then you'll see, oh, well, there's one. Well,
and you know what? I've been that one. It's kind of fun too.
Is it? Tell me about that.
Well, it's kind of it's special, and it's like you broke through the ceiling and you're there a little bit. So it can be very
empowering.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So that part's wonderful. The one part that I'd like to discuss, though, is my private conversations and my coaching sessions sometimes with women. When they say, well, I'm just like the guys.
Yeah.
No one sees me any differently.
Yeah.
What do you think about those?
Well, and I've thought that too.
Mm-hmm.
We're all in this together. We're all tackling the same things. We've got the same mission, and it's the Three Musketeers, the Four Musketeers. So I can see that.
Yeah, and that part about us all being in this together, us all working towards the same goal and mission, that part is true. The part I want us to stop kind of denying is that women across the globe are treated differently and usually negative as it relates to men.
Mm-hmm.
It's I call it acknowledging what is. Just because you acknowledge the fact that a man has privilege doesn't mean that men should be ashamed of it, doesn't mean that they should feel guilty for it. It just means we need to recognize that we treat men and women differently, and sometimes in negative ways, so that we can mitigate the risk associated with it.
Okay.
But if we deny it, what are we going to do about it? How are we going to fix it? It's like the beginning of the 12-step program.
Yeah. Yeah.
Acknowledgement is the first step in being cured.
So I think part of it is that fitting in. What did I say or not say as a woman? I don't have kids, so there wasn't I need to get away. I could give 100% to the company.
More than 100.
Which I think
if I had it.
Yeah, and I think that bode very well for me, and maybe gave the guys a false sense of, what we could provide, because there are, women that need to leave, and they've got kids that are sick and
in general, especially in the United States, women are by far the caregivers for their families, and so this expectation that hours or butts in seats are the ways that women need to get work done. It's like, well, what if I am creative about the way I get the work done, since I can't be here all day or all night?
Yes.
And what I would just ask for women is to just be aware of the ways in which you expect for a woman to do more than you expect for a man to do.
Yeah.
Because you told me an interesting stat about new careers.
Yeah. So, I think the study showed that men are hired oftentimes for their potential. Haven't done the job before, we think they've got the potential to do it. And women are hired if they've done it before and it's been proven. So there's definitely been studies that have shown that piece of it. And I have seen that. I mean, it's funny because until I read that and understood it, did I necessarily see it?
Yeah.
But when you see it, you're going, okay, this conversation's feeling very different between these two candidates on the other side, in making a determination.
Well, and I will also tell you, I'm not exempt from this. When I took the Harvard Implicit Association test, I am biased against women. I associate staying home with female gender, and I associate being in the workplace with men. And so what does that mean? We all have biases, and I think we've kind of been taking a sucker's way out lately and saying, oh, well, everybody has biases. Yes, everyone has biases, and once you know what yours are, you need to be working to do something about it.
Yeah, I think that's the key, and I was looking at cognitive biases, and there's like thousands of them. And so I think part of it is when there's a bias. I was working with an organization recently, and there was a woman who blew up a few times.
Okay.
And kind of hard on a young male employee. And I thought what was interesting was this what's the word?
Socio?
Well, saying, okay, here's what I think her problem is. Is she bipolar? Is she this? Is she this? Well, then they hire this guy who's very demanding, will get things done, very assertive. If we had someone come to work on something in the office, it wasn't done. He said, you're staying until it's done. So this assertiveness and sort of blowing up from time to time was treated very differently between the two.
So for him, it was probably seen as managerial courage, and with her, it was seen as aggression.
Yes.
So what I think that would be good for our audience is if you would just, one, know what your implicit associations are. So if you go to Project Implicit and take a few of the assessments, I think it'd be helpful to you, and then decide what you want to do about those. But you got anything else for the folks?
No, I think that's really good. I think it is awareness on all sides. And I think it's also being able to kind of talk through it and not hide behind some of it too.
Not hide behind it.
Yeah, I think that's key.
Perfect.
That's your homework for today.
Yeah.